The air hung thick and sour over Willow Creek, Texas, the morning the lake turned white. At first, residents thought it was a dense fog, a milky film spreading silently across the water. But by noon, the truth was floating on the surface. Dozens of dead fish, mouths open, gills pale. The air itself had a sharp, chemical tang, like bleach, a clear signal that something was terribly wrong. At the far end of the affluent neighborhood, standing on her back porch, Maya Blake watched the horrific scene unfold. She'd fished this lake almost every weekend since moving in. Initially, she suspected fertilizer runoff, but when her golden retriever, Scout, ran down and took a few quick, lapping drinks, a pungent, wrong chemical smell hit her. "Hey, don't drink that," she called, but it was too late. Within hours, Scout was violently vomiting in the yard. Maya rushed him to the emergency vet in nearby Bryan, where the doctor confirmed, "Looks like she got into something toxic, maybe antifreeze or pesticide." Maya's stomach twisted. "It came from the lake behind my house," she said. The vet's face instantly changed. "Then you need to call environmental services. That's not normal." By evening, police tape wrapped the walking trail. Maya already suspected the source. 2 weeks earlier, she'd received another email from Ethan Strafford, the white, male homeowners association president. The subject line, unauthorized use of shared property. He claimed fishing was prohibited, citing a bylaw ignored for years. Maya, a black woman who worked long, exhausting shifts as a logistics manager, had replied politely, noting the handbook only banned commercial fishing. Ethan never responded. A $150 fine notice appeared in her mailbox the next day. Now, Ethan strode toward the yellow tape, clipboard in hand, his perfectly pressed khaki slacks and visor screaming control. "Ms. Blake," he called out, his tone sweet but hollow. "I hope you're not thinking of coming near that water. It's being treated for algae. The homeowners association handled it this morning." Maya stared at the white film. "Treated with what?" Ethan dismissed the question with a wave. "Just standard chemicals, perfectly safe. You'll see the color clear up in a day or 2". Maya gestured toward the tape. "Safe? My dog's at the vet right now because of that treatment." His smile didn't move. "Well, maybe you should keep your dog away from restricted areas, Miss Blake." Having worked around industrial cleaning solvents for years, Maya knew the smell wasn't algae control. It was heavy-duty, industrial punishment. Whatever they dumped wasn't for cleaning the lake. It was for punishing her. That night, she searched lake chemical algae treatment toxicity. Warnings about restricted use compounds like copper sulfate and diquat kept appearing, with one terrifying line: "Can leach into groundwater and affect drinking water sources." She filled a glass from her tap. It looked clear, but the thought stuck in her head: what if it isn't? Neighbors were already complaining, stomach cramps, water smelling like a swimming pool. That evening, she walked to the dead, still lake and picked up a small, crumbled perch. "This isn't over," she whispered. "It shouldn't have happened," a voice behind her said softly. It was Robert and Marlowe, her white neighbor from 2 houses down, an environmental official for the county. Maya asked if he knew something. He glanced toward Ethan's house. "Not here. Come by my place tomorrow morning. I think you'll want to see what I found." Maya had bought her house, the only black family on the block, 2 years earlier after saving for a decade. The deck faced the lake. That view was her peace, a quiet place to cast a line and escape the world's noise. She ignored homeowners association drama, paid her dues, and kept to herself. But Ethan Strafford, the retired bank VP who treated the homeowners association like his personal fiefdom, saw her as a stain on his perfect canvas. Perhaps it was her work boots or the sight of her fishing gear. Whatever it was, the conflict was immediate. The emails and fines began. $50 for visible fishing equipment, then $100 for the small wooden bench she installed by the dock. She tried to laugh it off, telling a friend, "Feels like that man's allergic to peace." But the hostility escalated. Her fishing line was cut. Then, a new homeowners association rule appeared. Fishing was prohibited without express written approval. "You rewrote the rules because of me," Maya accused. "I enforced them, Miss Blake," Ethan said, before she shot back. "You poisoned that moment you brought hate into it." His cold retort: "Watch yourself, Miss Blake. Attitude doesn't go unnoticed around here." The harassment turned visible. Noise complaints, overturned garbage cans, and the words "private property" spray-painted on her small dock. When she showed the photos to Ethan, he acted surprised, then snapped, "If you're implying I had something to do with this, you should be careful with your accusations." Then came the final warning from Robert, and they're planning a lake treatment. "Evelyn's idea. Says it's for algae control," without environmental clearance. Maya knew the lake was fine. A few evenings later, Ethan stopped at her gate, his smile tight. "I couldn't help but notice those cameras you've installed," he said, demanding that the surveillance be reviewed for neighborhood aesthetics. Maya had had enough. "If you're so worried about rules," she said, her voice steady, "maybe you should start by following environmental ones. Heard you've got some kind of lake treatment coming up." The smirk vanished. The homeowners association knows what it's doing. But the next morning, Maya's cameras captured it. Two people, masked and gloved, dumping large containers labeled toxic into the water at dawn. Robert Ann's face went pale watching the footage. "That's industrial chemical packaging. That's not standard algae treatment." Robert Ann soon called back, voice trembling. The homeowners association bought 30 gallons of copper sulfate blend, the industrial-grade kind. It's banned for residential water systems. He explained they bought it under the name of a fake landscaping contractor. The homeowners association had not just overtreated the lake, they had poisoned it. By Tuesday, the contamination was undeniable. Dead fish floated, the water was cloudy, and Maya found blue copper sulfate crystals clinging to her dock. When Ethan and two board members came out in bright orange vests, Maya confronted them. "You're poisoning the lake." Robert Ann arrived, holding a folder. "A professional who doesn't exist," he said, revealing that Ethan had forged the treatment documentation. "What you did could contaminate our groundwater," Robert Ann warned. Ethan glared at Maya. "Maybe if you hadn't made yourself such a nuisance, none of this would have been necessary." The following day, residents fell sick with cramps and rashes. The county issued a boil water advisory. Source contamination under investigation. The Gonzalez family's toddler was hospitalized. Willow Creek had turned into chaos overnight. Robert Ann's lab results were damning. Along with copper sulfate, they found benzalkonium chloride, an industrial disinfectant not approved for open water. Every house used the same groundwater system, and the contamination levels were way above safe limits. Robert Ann had copied the invoices, proving Ethan's signature was on the order. The next morning, the Homeowners Association retaliated, littering Maya's yard with flyers. Homeowners Association violator under investigation. Maya confronted Ethan, who stood by his flyers. "You don't belong here," he said, his eyes cold. "You've been a problem since the day you arrived." But as neighbors gathered, Robert Ann stepped forward, holding the folder high. "We have proof of what he did. Signed invoices. No permits. The Homeowners Association paid for illegal chemicals using community funds." Ethan's composure finally cracked. "I didn't know it would go this far," he muttered, but his words were drowned out by the angry, betrayed faces of his neighbors. State officers soon arrived with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. Agent Clark Sorrell of the Environmental Crimes Division confirmed the contamination exceeded state limits and that Ethan could face criminal charges. Maya provided her camera footage. Robert Ann provided the falsified invoices. They had enough for a warrant for environmental tampering, fraud, and misuse of community funds. The next morning, neighbors watched through their curtains as Ethan was escorted outside. Procedure doesn't involve falsifying contractors or dumping illegal chemicals into a public water system, Agent Sorrell calmly stated. Maya felt no victory, only the weary relief that the nightmare was ending. The lake would take months to clean. The Homeowners Association board was dissolved. Ethan had destroyed the very community he obsessed over controlling. In the following weeks, Willow Creek became a cleanup site, reeking of chlorine and metal. Parents held signs reading, "Our kids deserve clean water." At an emergency meeting, the anger was palpable. "We all just wanted peace," one neighbor admitted. "Turns out we mistook silence for peace." Maya finally spoke. "You all wanted order so bad you let one person decide what's right and wrong. That's how this happened." It wasn't just Ethan, it was everyone who looked away. The lawsuits began, and Ethan's internal emails, found by investigators, sealed his fate. One message, sent weeks before the poisoning, contained his chilling intent. "If this doesn't discourage her, nothing will." He was formally charged with environmental negligence, fraud, and reckless endangerment. During her testimony, Maya was asked why she suspected him. "I just wanted to fish," she said simply. "But when I saw her targeting me, rewriting rules and ignoring safety, she thought the lake was hers to control, but she forgot. When you poison one part of the water, you poison it for everyone." Ethan Strafford was eventually sentenced to 3 years in state prison plus restitution fines. Months later, the lake was officially declared safe. One Saturday morning, Maya brought her fishing rod down to the dock. The sky was clear, the water calm. She cast her line, the sound of the reel spinning an old, familiar rhythm. After a while, the line tugged. She reeled it in slowly, a faint smile on her face. The place would never be perfect, but it was honest. She looked at Scout, fully recovered and wagging his tail. "Guess we got our lake back, boy," she murmured. The truth had cleaned more than the water. It had washed the whole neighborhood, leaving behind something stronger than pride, clarity.